Okay, so the session's now being recorded. Okay, so a great big welcome to everybody and to James Perry, who's going to be taking our session today. Today's amazing session is getting clear about your career and will hopefully gain you lots of clarity to achieve your goals for the future. Just a few housekeeping bits and pieces, guys, before we get started. The session is being recorded today, okay? And the chat box emoji and raise hand functions have been activated also. As I said previously there, for those of you who are just coming in, the chat box I will jump in and out of throughout the session, and if there's any questions there, we'll put them to James towards the end of the session. I would encourage you to use your emojis and your questions, your chat box throughout the session and get as much out of this activity as you can. Can I just remind you that we're all here in a professional capacity today as well, and in order to get the most out of your session, I would encourage you to engage as best you can and do so in a professional manner. So our guest speaker today is an Ulster alumni and also the co-founder of a global coaching organisation. He coaches on mindset, motivation, study and exam techniques, and most importantly, career development for both students and professionals. So I myself am very excited to hear what James has got to say today. He has successfully coached hundreds of people globally, and we're very, very privileged to have him with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to give you over to James, and just a big warm welcome from us all, James, and thank you for coming along today to chat with our staff and our students.
Thank you very much, Donna. It's a privilege to be here, and thanks everybody for attending as well, especially on a Monday. And you know, I know maybe there's some students here, you're in the middle of exam period, etc. So, but what I really want to do, folks, is I want to give you some practical things to think about trying to get some clarity in where you're going to go in the future. So let me just click onto this slide here. So I'm talking about getting clear in about your career and gaining clarity and you're thinking about where you want or what you want to do moving forward. Now, folks, what you'll see in my slides, you'll see my logo down the bottom right, Accounting Success Coach. Now, do not worry. This is nothing to do with accountancy. It's for everybody, and these tools and techniques and questions are for absolutely everybody, okay? It just happens that I focus in on my own niche, which is accountancy, and that's the exam and the career development, and that's the area that I focus in on. But all the stuff I'll be talking about is equally as relevant no matter what you do or what stage you are at, okay? So just to put that out there, and I'll tell you a bit about me in a second as well. But initially, what I want to really show you, if the slide will come up, is we all know what the pain is like, right? So maybe you are very unclear about what you want to do. You're stuck in this scenario where what I call the mental fog, and you're going, right, I've maybe done a degree, or I'm finishing a degree, or I'm in the middle of some other project, and I don't really know. I don't have a clue what I want to do. Right? Maybe you go to an interview and you just don't have the passion for it, or you do not know why you're there, and the interview goes horribly wrong. Where the other side, folks, is the gain. You get that job promotion, or maybe you've started a business yourself, or you've kind of came up with an idea that you're going to try and develop, or you maybe got your degree and you're going, right, I'm really excited about my career. But what's the missing link? The missing link is actually clarity. Okay, it's actually understanding what you want to do. And what I want to put towards you today is a number of questions, a number of things to think about, not just questions about how do you get clear in your career, but how do you get your mind clear first of all to get that, to give you some sort of room for that insight. Okay. So what I want to do first of all, I'm going to challenge you guys. Okay, I love challenging. I love doing things like that. Is I want you to, in the chat box, literally a couple of words. I'll give you a number of seconds to do this, is to write one unique thing about you. Okay, so if you start writing those in the chat box, and I will tell you a bit more about me, one unique thing about me in a couple of slides time. So you want to go ahead and write a few things in the chat box, write one unique thing about you, okay? And then we can touch on some of them. If they're humorous, that's even better. Okay. See the first word there, I am a twin. That's really, really good actually. I'll touch upon those aspects in a second. What am I going to talk about today? So we're going to talk about mindset and belief. Okay, so we want to get the foundation here of how to get your mind clear. We're going to talk about dealing with pressure, because folks, once stress comes in, clarity and logic clears off and leaves you. Okay. Then we're going to talk about the why of career clarity. Okay, why do you need it, and why do you do what you want to do? Abdul, that's absolutely fantastic. Actually, you have the longest name on the call. And then towards the end, folks, I want to talk about personal values and career values and how they actually match. Because unless you don't know what you're worth or what your values are, that's the reason why sometimes a career doesn't work for you. And it took me a long, long time to actually understand that. So I'm going to give you a few things to think about with that, okay? So I see there's a lot of stuff coming through, so we'll touch upon that. That's actually brilliant, and thanks very much for engaging. That's really what I want to touch upon. But let me just tell you a bit about me uh, in the run-up to the what's unique about you. Okay, so let me tell you a bit about me. Okay, if we can move on to the next slide. Just taking us time here. Okay, so who am I? Well, folks, here's one thing, a tip that I want to sort of share with you. If someone asks you, who are you? Most people will say, I am an accountant, or I am a teacher. Okay. So most people explain who they are about what they do, their job. Whenever people ask me that question, I do it in 4 words. I'm a carer, I'm a coach, I'm an academic, and I'm an adventurer. So I actually care for my father. I coach in my business. I coach other people with exam development and career development. I'm an academic because I also work for the University of Ulster, but I'm an adventurer. I absolutely love travel, and I don't really travel to normal places. I sort of go off the beaten track to some places. So there's a tip for you folks, is whenever someone asks who you are, don't automatically reply with your job. Actually, maybe in 4 words, describe who you are. Makes it more interesting. So what's my background? My background is I'm a fellow chartered accountant. I qualified with Chartered Accountants Ireland in 2006 with a background in accounting. So I'd done my master's in the University of Ulster way back in 2003. And before that, I'd done my undergraduate degree as well in accounting. Okay, so accounting has always been in the blood. Let me quickly tell you what I'd done first of all before I got to this business. So I was my first ever job was in a firm called Grant Thornton. If you've ever heard tell of Grant Thornton, they're one of the bigger accountancy firms in the world. And I joined the Belfast office in 2003 with the whole expectation of, oh, I'm going to go in, become an accountant, and I stay in an accountancy office my entire life. That's all I knew about my career. So I was there for 9 years. I worked in audit, and believe it or not, 10 years ago, I was on the fast track to become partner in the firm. So I was on that route, or on that sort of conveyor belt to become a partner. But then I realized that it wasn't really for me. Okay, the nature of the work. After 9 years, that was me. I actually moved in into industry and became a nuts and bolts accountant. So I became financial controller for WKD. And for people who know WKD, it's that blue looking, very sweet alcoholic drink. And I became financial controller of WKD. So what I done was I moved from practice into accounting industry. And my first role was to take over a $500 million turnover business. Absolutely crazy. Brilliant 2.5 years though. I got so much experience there. But again, folks, I still did not have a clue what I wanted to do in my career, because I didn't ask myself the questions what I'm going to tell you to ask yourself in a bit. Okay. I then went into a government role for 4 years. Then lo and behold, I had an idea. And the idea was, okay, I used to love helping junior members of staff through getting through their exams. And it was through my own frustrations as well, really frustrated that there was some gaps there. So I decided as a hobby to start my own business. And hence Accounting Success Coach was born. And that was approximately 4 years ago. I then essentially took 2 years it was a hobby, and then I took it really serious 2 years ago. And lo and behold, over the last 4 years, I've coached over 160 people around the world, from as far away as Trinidad and Tobago, from Zimbabwe, Jamaica, and it's been absolutely a fantastic thing for me. Then I got an opportunity with the University of Ulster, and hence I'm now a part-time lecturer as well. So that's where my career has went from what I thought I had to do to now understanding, folks, that what I really love doing is helping people. So that's where I've gained clarity, and it took me a long, long time to understand that. So those lessons that I've learned, I want to sort of give you a few hints and tips along along my lessons and maybe some of the mistakes that I made, but to so sort of you can fast track through those. Okay, so that's a bit about me. Right, folks. Donna, is there any interesting comments there in the chat box regarding one unique thing about some of the people on the call?
There's lots, James, to be quite honest. It's very hard to pick. Ursula McTaggart has come in here and she said she's crossed the finish line of the Belfast Marathon with a broken hip. Which I find is just amazing. Just hold on 2 ticks.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of good stuff there. I've seen things from bird watching to photography,
yes,
to having the longest name in the group, which I thought was class.
Somebody
Some
there
absolute cracking stuff.
18 allergies.
18 allergies.
Yeah.
Don't know, I was going to say that's brilliant, but I'm not going to maybe say that now.
Not so good sometimes, James, yeah. But yes, lots of really good engagement there from everybody, and lots of really interesting facts, yep.
The one unique thing about me, and that is me, believe it or not, on my mum's knee. So that's me about 3 months old. And whenever I was born, I was 10 weeks premature, and I was born at 2.5 pounds in weight. And that was a way back in 1979, whenever that was absolutely crazy. So yeah, that's the one unique thing about me. That was still me in intensive care, and I was 3 months old. And I didn't get home until I was 4.5 months old. So I wasn't actually allowed back. I wasn't allowed home. So that's my very proud mum and me. So thanks very much for all that, folks. Brilliant engagement, by the way. Great stuff. Okay, first thing I want to touch upon really in terms of getting clear. Again, just get the slide. Okay, is about what's going on up here. And most people don't know what's going on up here in terms of mindset, okay? So what I want to do is I want to try and explain to you in the simplest terms I can about what's going up in between your ears. So if you look at the picture in the top left, and this is what I'm going to try and explain to you. The questions I normally put it to people is, what's the most important thing in your life? Most people will say, I don't know, their dog, their family, their husband, whatever that may be. And my response is, well, is it not your mind? And the reason why I say that is because without your mind, you can't really comprehend very much. But most people don't know how to look after it. And if you want to get clear in your thinking about your career, you need to look after what's going on up inside your mind. So very quickly, what's happening is all this information is rushing in to your mind, okay? And it's through the senses, your sight, sound, etc., etc. And there's another sixth sense. And if you do not talk to yourself, there's something wrong with you, because we all talk to ourselves. And it's another sense called AD, audio digital. It's the voice that's talking to you constantly, okay? I tend to look at it as a wee monkey, because sometimes that wee monkey is driving the controls and it doesn't actually do what you want it to do. That wee voice doesn't say what you want to say. Anyway, everything's coming through and it's filtered. And that filter allows some stuff through and allows other stuff, bins other stuff. And the filter comes through your memories, it comes through your beliefs and values and your background and all that sort of stuff, okay? So loads of filters and some stuff gets through. That creates an internal experience, or James's values or James's model of the world interacts with my body, and hence you do stuff. You have behaviors, you have actions, and then potentially you get results. So it all depends on the wee monkey, what you're telling yourself, and the filters you have in place. So that generally has how your mind works. But yes, we've got our good old friend up in the top right there, the little monkey, and it likes to throw, what I politely say, likes to throw rubbish everywhere, okay? And it loves to tell lies. So therefore, folks, if you know what self-doubt is, or if self-doubt creeps up, The monkey is doing his job. Okay, it's a defense system, just in case you make the wrong choice. So it tends to tell you something different. So sometimes, folks, the one thing I want to tell you about is to lock away the monkey. I'll tell you a few tools and techniques in terms of how to do that in a second. Second aspect I want you to look at is what they call the growth mindset. Now, do you know anyone who is very fixed in their thinking? Oh, I can't change. Oh, bad things always happen to me. Oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. Very fixed. So you're not going to be able to let yourself grow or move forward in any way. So why not adopt the possibility of having a growth mindset where maybe I can go and learn something new, or I can develop myself. Or if you look at the third point down in the graphic there with growth mindset, feedback is really constructive. A lot of people take feedback as negative. Why not use it to grow and move forward? So those are a few things I just want to point out to you. Now, why am I telling you all this? I want to tell you all this for those three final bullet points on the slide. I want you to be more open to opportunities. I want you to be more aware of yourself. And I want you to look at everything as that what I've got in quotation marks. Opportunities, not obstacles. Okay. That wee phrase completely changed my life. Completely changed my life. If you review or reframe what's going on with that small sentence there, it's brilliant. Okay. That's the first thing I want to really point out is actually what's going on up in there. Next thing I want to point out. Again, I'm just going to let the slide change here. And the next bit, folks, I want to talk about is what do you actually believe? And the big thing is, do you believe in yourself? Okay. So this is a real quick one about the cycle of belief, where the belief that you have, and it's look at the top left-hand corner, what we're talking about today. This is the first starting point. If you can get clear in your thinking, if you can think about the opportunities, not the obstacles, that really gives you fuel to go ahead in your career and other things in your life, okay? That belief, if you can actually shake off the negativity and the monkey, put processes in place, that really kickstarts your potential. If you can then put a plan in place, so for example, I'm an accountant, I know all about a business plan, but most people don't have a career plan or a plan for their life. But if you can think of a career plan, that really taps into that potential and hits then the bottom right hand corner of the diagram. That's where you actually go and do stuff. You actually take action on things. Whenever you take that action and things go well, that develops results. You go, that makes me feel brilliant. It reinforces that belief, and hey, it starts the cycle again. So what I'm talking about, folks, for clarity is you need a foundation of having a really good, strong mindset and keeping yourself thinking more positively in terms of wanting to move forward and to grow yourself. Okay. So that's a couple of things I want you to really think about. Most people don't think about this, folks. Most people is what I call in a mental fog, and they think that life just happens. No, you can actually create a life for what you want to do if you're clear on what you're thinking about. Okay. So how do we do it? How do we gain clarity? Now, the thing that actually hinders our clarity most of the time is stress and it's anxiety. So if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, does that picture feel or seem very familiar to you? Where you're really anxious, you're really wound up, you're frustrated. And what happens, folks, with that is that it comes through not just mentally, but physically. Okay, so if you've ever felt yourself maybe cold sweat, having shaking, being really agitated, that really disturbs you, and that's the pain side of one of the previous slides I was talking about. But what we want to do is reinstall calm. What we want to do is reinstall logic, and hence the clarity comes from that logic. So a couple of things I want to just talk about is lifestyle and what I call the body battery. Now, some people think I'm going to give you a magic spell about how to deal with stress. Unfortunately, folks, it doesn't work like that. Let's talk about the basics. What's your diet like? What's your exercise levels like? What's your sleep like? What about the social life? What about those people you surround yourself with? Are they generally negative, or do they help you and make you grow? So that's what I'm talking about, lifestyle and body battery. And what I want to do is, in the chat box again, I just want you to think about or put into the chat box the one thing that you can maybe do to improve that could help your stress levels. Is it to maybe cut out sugar? Is it to go for a walk? Is it, I know people take up meditation? What actually may work for you? So again, just this very, very quickly, just if you can in the chat box, maybe one thing that you can adopt that'll help your stress levels and hence give you a bit more clarity. Okay. Opposite breathing exercises. Somebody has read my mind.
Yeah, a lot
Less
of people
screen
saying
time.
exercises, reading a book, meditation. There's one that I've said as well, sleep. I find, James, I don't really sleep an awful lot. Getting a good 9 hours every night is just not something.
Yeah.
Maybe just leaving the phone downstairs instead of bringing it with you. A lot of
Oh,
people
that
lie
is
on
the
the phone
killer.
at night time, isn't it? And bringing a laptop to bed to watch Netflix or
Yeah.
yeah, there's lots of things we can be doing. I think daily affirmations. Some people are saying here.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
There's lots of things. Yeah.
yeah, going to bed early, staying away from that blue light. Yep. Boxing helps. There's Laura Louise is saying boxing helps her. Yeah, that's a good stress buster.
Tons of stuff, folks. Absolute tons of
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
And like I said, there's not a magic spell for you for the first stage to actually gain clarity. Okay. First stage is the basics. So I've cut out sugar. And folks, I was addicted to sugar. Like a packet of crisps, and I wouldn't just say a biscuit. I would say a packet of biscuits a night. No problem. Like this sounds really crazy. As a child would do this, but a pint of milk and a packet of Jaffa cakes was not a problem to me. You know what I mean? And it's cutting out this. It's the basics, folks. It's common sense. So you need to try and reinstall these really good habits, getting that 7 to 8 hours sleep a night. If you're struggling, go on
Mhm.
the internet, folks, and find out how you can increase your sleep better. Some people are talking about hard exercise. Why not do the hard exercise before you go to sleep? Do that training session. Really,
Yeah.
really good stuff. So go back to basics, folks, because I'm actually going to in the next slide here, and thanks again for the great feedback there. Is I just want to quickly show you a diagram. Again, I'm just going to go on to the next slide. If you look at the diagram there on the top right, when emotion goes up, decision making goes down.
Mhm.
So if you're in an ultra stressed state, and they talk about fight or flight, so you're either going to fight and use up all your positive energy, or you're going to run. But if you can actually do those basics and manage the stress, and I am massive about meditation as well, folks, all you need is 10 minutes a day. Go into nature. I'm lucky where I live is I'm surrounded by nature. I literally can go into the field at the top of the above the house here and go and sit on a stone for 10 minutes and literally just breathe and take in the scenery. That just clears away that mental fog. Okay. But one thing that I've seen, which is really, really useful, is that of breathing. So thanks for the people who were suggesting breathing there. And that is, it's nature's way. It's like a cleanser. And you don't need to take pills. You've no need to go and see the doctor. You've no. It's nature's way of actually giving you clarity, because if you breathe and recompose, you can make better decisions. And one thing, folks, about really doing well in your career, especially if you want to go into leadership, is making better decisions faster. And that's the sign of all the great leaders in the world. They make decisions, they're decisive, and they do it really quick, because they have got certain practices to gain clarity. So one thing is through breathing, and it's what I call 5 by 5 by 5. And what does that mean? You breathe in gently for 5, you hold it for 5, and then you release it for 5. And there's different variations of this. There's a 3, 4, 7, and there's all this, but I just go 5 by 5 by 5. So what we're going to do is, folks, is we're going to do this for 30 seconds. I might actually take it up to a minute if you want, just to get yourself clear on things. So if you're all ready, if you can close your eyes, if you can all close your eyes, And we start to breathe gently, okay? So take it in for 5, count to 5, hold for 5, which is easier said than done, and then exhale for 5, okay?
That
So
hold
what
for
I'm going to
5 is tricky, James.
That hold for 5 is really tricky, and I'm going to
It
give you another one. I'm
is.
going to give you another one, but there's a warning on the very last point. But if we can do it for 30 seconds, folks, I'm going to watch the clock. Actually, let's do it for a minute. I'm going to watch the clock here. And if you all want to close your eyes and literally just do 5 by 5 by 5. And then in the chat box, if you write just how you feel. Okay. So I'm going to start the minute from now. So it's 12:56. We're going to go from 12:57. Yeah, people may end up sleeping. Please don't fall asleep. Yeah. Okay. So let's try it for a minute. It's the final 20 seconds or so, folks. Okay. Okay. So let's touch on this again for a second. So this is the very free thing you can do that nature's provided that you can help gain clarity along with the other basics that we've spoken about, folks. Okay. So it's not really complicated. It's the most difficult thing is getting this routine started. Okay. To try and do this maybe every day, and to actually help maybe eat a bit better and to try and get that sleep and to maybe, drink that 2 liters of water. It's really back to basics. Okay. One thing I know someone said there, jogging was good. Absolutely is. Folks, to put it into some sort of context, now I am no neuroscientist. I am an accountant, sort of, right? But what, you know, nature has given us the greatest chemical factory in the world, and it's all up here. And if you look at, running and exercise, it releases dopamine and all these great chemicals. Believe it or not, your body is set up in a perfect way for a reason. But it's up to us to get back to those basics. So, folks, that's really what I'm suggesting is let's get the foundations built, and that helps your mindset massively. So, once you have got those foundations built, the next stage then is to understand, okay, what motivates you? Now, I'm slightly different whenever it comes to motivation, okay? So I'm going to get this next slide to come up. Okay, so there's the next slide coming up. Now, let me just tell you about motivation. And, once you get clear thinking, you're gaining clarity, then you go to get motivated to go and pursue what you want to do. You've got the belief, you want to tap into the potential and take action. Now, motivation. Motivation, I believe in context. And let me suggest something. Has anybody ever watched a video, maybe a 2-minute motivational video on YouTube? You've maybe listened to something on a podcast, or you've read something brilliant in a book, and you feel really super pumped today. I bet you've all felt that. But I bet you in the morning, you might feel really, really flat on your face, really, really low after that high, maybe last night, when you go into the gym and there's a great session, and you feel great, but yet in the morning time, you sort of feel low. Okay. Motivation in itself is a very short term temporary fix. So what I'm suggesting, And I'm going to give, it is rough actually, yeah. What I'm going to do is give you a number of questions to actually understand why do you want to do something. If you understand a bit more about why you want to do something, it gives you momentum, not necessarily motivation, but momentum. And the big thing is this, folks, momentum gives you the drive to move forward whenever the proverbial hits the fan. Okay? Whenever things go wrong, you want to have that momentum to keep you moving forward. And I'm going to give you an example of mine in a second. But what I want to do, absolutely, some people really do work better under pressure as well.
Yeah.
But the big thing about the pressure, whenever sometimes the pressure gets too much, that's whenever the cracks start to appear. So again, it's about
Takes its
managing that
toll.
pressure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So managing that pressure. So folks, really what I want to do now is I want to give you a number of, absolutely, diamonds are made under pressure. And that's a
Very true.
polite, that's the polite way of what of that particular saying. So that's a great one. So folks, this is some initial questions that will make you think to get some initial clarity. Okay. And I never ever understood any of this until a number of years ago whenever I was setting up my own business. And now I've got a lifestyle business that actually works for me. So here's a few questions for you to think about. And again, if you want to jot these down, if you want to take a photograph of these questions, feel free and have a think about it at some stage. Maybe take an hour out and literally doodle on a pen or on an A4 sheet. So first question is, how many hours a week do you want to work? And that's a genuine question. Because whenever I went into the world of work, working 60 hours a week was pretty normal for me, at least, you know. Next one is, how much money do you want to be making? 10 years ago, I wanted to be a millionaire. I wanted to be on a partner's salary of a big accountancy firm of 200,000 a year. But the downside to that is the stress, is the constant pressure, etc. Now, some people love that, and that's brilliant. But then I discovered that it wasn't necessarily for me. Now, it took me to the middle of the journey to even start to be considering these questions. So it's maybe really good for you to consider them now, and you can plan for this. Next thing, what lifestyle do you want? So is it a very flexible lifestyle? So for me, after I finish this call, I can go for a drive because I know I've got a client tomorrow night and I know the deliverables I need to get to her by tomorrow night. So I can understand in terms, absolutely. COVID-19 has actually moved the future to now and to
Yeah.
essentially definitely to get these questions right up front. But where, folks, where do you want to work or have that lifestyle? I'll tell you a bit about my thoughts on that in a second. Who do you want to spend your time with? That's a massive thing. Remember what I was talking about who you're going to surround yourself with in your social circle. So if you're not with these people that are going to raise you up and help you and lift you up, that's going to be a pretty hard graft in terms of your career. So who are those people? And then what about personal growth? So a lot of people may get stuck in a certain job for such a long time and it literally becomes their life and they sort of get stagnant. But do you want to create a career where you can actually grow with it? So an example for me, folks, is I love dealing with other like-minded people, and I really get that with my exam clients and with my career coaching clients, and having those conversations, even about holidays or books or their opinion in the world. It's absolutely brilliant, and it really makes me grow and develop. Even though I'm the coach coaching them, the conversations that I have with them are absolutely fantastic. So what I want to do, folks, actually, I was going to run it as a poll, but let's just put it in the chat box as well. I think this could be slightly quicker. Just just for to get a feeling, would you want to be employed or self-employed? So again, just fire in those words in the chat box. Okay. Do you want to be employed or self-employed? Okay.
Mixture of both. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's
yeah.
quite a few coming
Mixture
in
of
there
both.
employed.
People are
Yeah.
unsure, etc. If you're unsure, folks, just ask the question of yourself and ponder on it. You know what I mean?
There's
Some
Brendan has said, I need guidance and direction, so he would prefer to be employed. Olivia, employed but with room to do my own thing for my own interest. So yes, Olivia, having that flexibility is good as well.
Really, really interesting. That's brilliant stuff, folks.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't it good to be thinking about it now rather than just drifting like a lot of people do?
Yeah.
And if you do want to be self-employed, what happened to me was this, folks. I literally started my business on what they call the 5 to 9. Okay. So again, if you're still in the middle of your degree, maybe this is not right immediately here. Maybe you are maybe just starting your career. But again, it's something to think about. If there's something you really enjoy, like me helping people, what I done was is I changed my LinkedIn profile from a CV to actually telling people what I was about. And then what happened was I started to write an odd blog here or there. I'd done it maybe a couple of hours, twice, 3 times a week after work. And then the opportunity presented itself. So, folks, if you have got the aspiration of becoming employed, or if you're comfortable being self employed, just watch out for those opportunities. And being really clear in your thinking is whenever you can see sight of those opportunities. Okay. Absolutely employed to start off with, and then maybe self employed. Absolutely, folks. But isn't it good having that thought now where you can potentially plan for it in the future? Okay, I'm going to tell you about my why. Let's bring up this slide. Okay, no bonus points for guessing which ugly sister I was in the left-hand picture there. Okay, I am the ugly sister with the orange hair. And that was the school play in my primary school. I am from a small village called Loughin Island in County Down, and that was the parish hall. Okay, and I was the ugly sister number two. I don't even think I had a name. So essentially, why am I putting this picture to you? I was just about to leave primary school then. So 3 months after that, I done the transfer test, or the 11 plus it was called in my day. Now, I got the lowest grade that you could get. That wasn't the issue though. The issue for me, and honestly this happened, was I was walking in a local seaside resort called Newcastle. About 3 months later, it was about maybe a couple of months after the result that I got, the headmaster was walking down the other way, and in front of my father, he went, "James, don't worry about it. You weren't going to pass that exam. You weren't particularly bright enough to pass it anyway." Now, he said that in front of my dad, and that was the hurtful thing. It wasn't the result. It was the fact that this authority figure of the primary school headmaster said that I wasn't particularly intelligent in front of my dad. That gave me a massive reason to go and prove that person wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. Okay. So throughout the whole of academia that I went through, it was all about, okay, I'm proving this guy wrong. I can remember. And folks, that picture there is in 2006, becoming a chartered accountant. And I was able to go and tell that headmaster, I met him again and told him I was a fully qualified chartered accountant. So this is what I'm talking about. Why? What is underneath the core? What's underneath the skin of things? Why you want to do what you want to do? It's a hugely important question for you to ask. Okay. Now, let me just go on to the next one. On the next slide here is that was my initial why to get me to a point where I got the professional qualification. Now with my business, and here's another tip for you. If someone ever asks you, why do you do what you do? I want you to think about a thing called the 5 whys. And that's asking yourself why 5 times. Okay. So the why for me, why do I want to grow this business? Why number one then is to create a sustainable business for me. Okay. Why number two is for me to have a salary, but in my own terms. So yes, I have a coaching business that sometimes the salary is really, really on a down because it's quite seasonal. Sometimes I've got a great salary in other months, okay, because I've done really well. But it's on my terms that I can create that for me. Okay. So to have a salary in my terms, why do I want to have that? I want to have that to have flexibility and freedom. So after this call, folks, I can actually go for a drive. I'm actually going to take my dad for a drive. Okay. Why number four, why do I want to have flexibility and freedom? I want to be able to work and travel at the same time whenever things hopefully become more normal. And why do I want to do that? Because I want to have so many experiences in my life. I'm all about experiences, folks. So a question that I'm going to actually say in a later workshop during the week is, what does success mean to you? Success for me means many experiences. Okay. Believe it or not, it's not about money anymore. So that's a tip for you. Whenever you want to understand why you want to do something, it's ask why 5 times. And after the one statement, ask why do you want to do that as well. It's really enlightening. It's another really good or tip or practical exercise that you can do. Okay. So this whole thing about why is this actually important in terms of career? Well, there's a concept that, to be perfectly honest, I never appreciated, and a lot of people don't appreciate. And that is this model is a psychological model by a guy called Robert Dilts. And it's Robert Dilts' pyramid of success. And I think it's a fantastic model. And it goes through different layers about how can you actually grow and improve. And if you look at the middle there, folks, it talks about why do you want to do something. And we've touched upon it there. But if you look into the actual triangle or pyramid itself, it's talking about values and beliefs. So I've touched upon beliefs and how you need to reinforce your beliefs in order to tap into potential, take action, and that achieves small successes, which again reinforces the beliefs. But what about values? What actually means something to you folks? You know, whenever I went into the world of work and into a career, I just done what I thought I had to do. And I didn't think about my own personality. I didn't think actually what mattered to me. But now that I do understand that, folks, I understand why I left some jobs. I understand why there was personality clashes with team members. I know why, because I understand the different values. And if you can understand that, that really helps you in terms of putting that career plan together, of actually understanding what you want to do. So let me quickly tell you some of my career values and how it actually matches into my career now. So the green box there is really good. And again, if you're re-watching this on a video or if you're noting it down or taking a photograph of it, have a think about those things, especially the top two, to know your personal values. Because you know the good old thing about work-life balance? I don't necessarily believe in work-life balance. I believe in life. So therefore, in my opinion, your personal values you will be bringing into the world of work, so it's all the same thing. Okay. So my top personal values, and I've done them in pairs, and it's just an exercise I've done myself. So first one is empathy and compassion. So like I told you before, I'm actually a carer. I care for my dad as well. So that sort of empathy and the caring side has always been there with me. So I love hearing my clients' stories and then actually putting something in place to help them. That's where then I now understand that I love working with other people to help them because of that empathy. Second one is intelligence and growth for me. So I need to surround myself with people who are quite like-minded in order that we both grow, that we all grow. Okay. And then the next one for me is trust and loyalty. Now, especially in some of my jobs where the boss wasn't really helping me, there was maybe some clash in values there. Okay. Whereas whenever I worked, for example, in WKD, my boss had my back all the time, and I flourished in that role and really, really loved it because I understood the trust element, and he was loyal to me, and I was loyal to him. So that really, really came through, and I can look back and see that. Fun and positivity, folks. I love having a bit of crack with everybody. That's my personality. So I loved being in a role. Some people love perhaps maybe being by themselves in an office. Maybe some people love, an open plan office. I loved the open plan office because it was always a good bit of atmosphere and a bit of fun and positivity occasionally as well. So that really worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one was belonging and love. I'll take the love bit out of it. But what the belonging was, I now understand why I loved actually at the time working for Grant Thornton, because it was a sense of belonging. They had this corporate culture and it really, really encompassed me and I loved it there. And I still have got a lot of affinity with that was my first place of work and I was there for 9 years, all because I knew I had a sense of belonging there. So, folks, big exercise. Again, I was going to run it as a poll, but what I'll do is I'll leave that consideration with you because I want to have maybe a few minutes for questions. But let me leave that with you, perhaps something to think about. Google list of values or list of personal values and go through them and understand what your top 5 to 10 are. Because it's really important that you get into an environment that will help you. Now, obviously, you're not going to be in a perfect world. You're not going to hit them all. But it's a good old 80-20 rule. If you get this scenario where you've hit maybe 70 or 80% of what you really stand for, you're in a really, really good position. But it's the awareness that I want you to be thinking about. Okay. So have a think about that. Again, that really helps in your thinking and being clear with where you want to go. Now, the overall bit, and this is coming from a Japanese term called Ikigai. Okay. And your Ikigai is where all this comes together from a Japanese word. And the concept essentially means what makes you get up in the morning. Okay. Now, if you look at the quadrants there, the 4 circles about what you love to do, what are you good at, what can you be paid for, and what does the world actually need? To be perfectly honest, I think I've got the sweet spot now. Do I love helping others? Absolutely. Am I good at what I do? I would like to think so. I've got a 90% pass rate in my exam coaching business. Can I get paid for it? Yep. Is it what the world needs? Unfortunately, yes, the world needs more accountants. So therefore, I'm quite lucky. I'm quite lucky where I've got that sweet spot. But what the caveat I'll say, folks, is this: it's actually really rare to have a career that you're 100% passionate about. Now, am I passionate about accountancy? No. Am I passionate about helping others? Yes. My passion was I wanted to be a Premier League footballer. What's the likelihood of me becoming a Premier League footballer? Not a huge percentage, but you can have a career that you're really good at and enjoy. And we're all going to have bad days. Again, it goes back to the 80-20 rule. If you actually enjoy things 80% of the time, you're doing really, really well. You really are. So have a think about that. What's your Ikigai? Put those 4 headings down on a page and doodle it, mind map it, brainstorm it, and see where you come from, okay? And see where things are with it. So hopefully, folks, that was a really quick whiz through how can you gain clarity in your career. And hopefully there's a number of takeaways there in terms of building your foundations of gaining clarity in your mind and then asking yourself a few questions, both in the personal context that drip feeds into your career and planning for your career as well. So hopefully, folks, that was of use. I would love you all to connect with me. So whoever's on, go onto LinkedIn. You can go onto LinkedIn straight away and you can connect with me. Feel free if you want to ask any questions. Again, folks, it doesn't have to be accountancy related or in the accountancy career. The principles that I've talked about today are as applicable to anyone at all. But the easiest way to get me is on LinkedIn. Go and search James Perry or James Perry Accounting Success Coach, and you should be able to find me there. Okay. So finally, at all, if there was any questions, Donna, or if anybody wants to, if somebody even wants to be brave and unmute yourself and ask a
We
question,
have
that might even.
we have one question in here, James. I just took it down there. So, any advice for future chartered accountants?
Absolutely. Of what I would say is, folks. Now, I'm assuming this person's maybe the typical person who's maybe come out of their degree and now doing maybe their professional exams with the hope of being fully qualified in 2 to 3 years' time. What I would say, folks, is go broad before you go narrow. Get as much exposure to as many different areas initially, and then you can go narrow in what you enjoy and what career path you really want to go down. I was quite lucky. I was in audit where I seen loads of clients. I met loads of people. I seen tons of systems, and I got exposure to many, many different things. So then that just give you more of an educated thing. So that's what I'd say about most businesses, but definitely in the chartered accountancy business, folks, is try and get as much exposure to as many different areas first, and then you can specialize.
And then, as you say, then you can find that passion then, James, for what you really like you have, we're educating and helping people. And as you say, you're not overly passionate about accountancy, but it's that sense of helping people and that sense of,
Absolutely.
Supporting people. And you've been very lucky that you found that early in your career.
Yeah, and it's really just, Donna, that I'm able to now target my niche because I understand completely what young accountants are going through, and
Yeah.
I've been there and done it. So
And
I've
you've
been
been
quite
there
lucky just to
yourself.
pick that market. But absolutely the same principles hold no matter what you're doing.
Yeah. Robin has said here, I'm trying to go for a career change. As the jobs I had were not lighting me up. So this has given me some food for thought. Joanna has come in there. Do you have any advice on how to pick a postgrad course? There are so many options and it is difficult to pick one as most of the courses are obviously similar or related to each other.
Well, big things to talk to people. Talk maybe to people on courses that maybe you're interested in, maybe
Mm-hmm.
search on LinkedIn for students who you can search function for particular coaches. Talk to the guys in terms of the employability team. Absolutely,
Yeah.
do as a first port of call. What I would really advise is get as much information first before you make that choice, and then you've got
Yeah.
an educated or informed decision.
And
But Google it
Joanna, you
as
can
well.
just have a look at your options, Joanna, and then, as James says there, the employability and careers team come along and have a chat with one of our consultants, and we can take you through those options. We can look at, the different courses in more detail with you and look at maybe what path you want to go down and what would be best suited for you, and point you in the right direction. And we can look at funding options and all that with you as well, and point you and signpost you in the right direction for that as well. No other questions really coming through there, James. Just lots and lots of comments saying how useful the session's been and how appreciative people are. Great session, very insightful, thank you. Just lots of really positive feedback. I think the students have definitely got an awful lot from that session. So thank you so much.
The other tip I would actually give folks for free is come to Wednesday session, which I am presenting regarding it's all about who knows you, right? The other big tip that I would suggest is to get to build a network and understand the
Yeah.
power of having a really good people surrounding you, because that's how you learn, that's how you understand about different areas and different things. So go and go and find or build a network. And I'm going to show you how to do that and how to enhance your reputation on my workshop on Wednesday. That'll be really useful for you.
Yeah, I have some details just about that on the last slide there, James, as well, so I can
Okay,
go through that with
brilliant.
them before we let everybody loose. So guys, thank you so much for coming along today. You've been really, really good. You've engaged really well. As James says there, first thing to do when you come off is have a look on LinkedIn and join or send a request to James and connect with him. It's all about connecting, get as many connections as you can, both professionally and personally. They all help. Upcoming sessions that we have in the next few days. So we have Confidence in Action, 25th, and it is at 2:30 to 3:30. We have James's session, which is he's just pointed out to you. It's all about who knows who, and it's the 26th from 3 to 4. And then we have the power of a growth mindset on 12 to 1 on the 28th. So the first one there, Confidence in Action, focuses really on your own personal confidence, something I know myself, we all have to constantly work on, and our confidence helps us to determine our success. So it's looks like a really, really good workshop. James's, as he said there, will focus on helping you to build a powerful network to enhance your reputation for professional growth. And then the final session, James has touched on there today on a growth mindset, and it's something that the employability team as well build within our Future for You workshop. So growth mindset's something that you will have heard about throughout the year. Again, this workshop will be led by Katie Matthews from the Mind Tribe, and will explore growth mindset, positivity, and our learning zones. So again, really, really interesting sessions there coming up. There's
I know
lots of other
Katie very
sessions
well.
available.
I know Katie very well, so that'll be very, very good actually.
Yeah, she's doing a few sessions for us this week, James. So definitely, I know I'm looking forward to attending anyway. And just remember, guys, there as well that you have the access to one-to-one advice and coaching. You can go on there to the website and you can book for all of the sessions that are coming up this week. So please try and make the best of this week before your summer holiday starts. There's lots of exciting things happening. So get onto the website and have a look. Remember, you've got your advice and coaching sessions you can book for there as well. And remember to follow us on social media for all updates. As well as the week goes on, we will be posting lots of activity on there. And going out on our social media posts as well. Just checking there's no further questions there for you, James. Just Peter, thanks, James. You've provided a lot of tasty food for thought. Yeah, and then planning to change. Yeah, so just again, all very positive feedback, James. So again, thank you so much for coming along today, and we look
Pleasure.
forward to your session on Wednesday.
Excellent.
So thank you very much, everybody. If there's no further questions, then I will stop the recording. And just again, big thank you for all attending and all for being so cooperative today and for participating. Thank you so much. Okay, James, that's that record.